by the event. She tried to kill herself the next day, survived that, but then turned to drugs years later. And her mom spoke to these reporters and said, I'm convinced she would have never gotten into drugs and died of an overdose if she hadn't been so traumatized by this event. So I think, when they tell these stories and then you have just the reaction of, oh, well, we're super sorry to hear that, but because of the autonomy and independence of each of these individual churches, there's just not much that we can do. And it's just lip service at the end of the day. They're saying they could put in prevention policies. They could.
Okay. Sorry, I'm eating peanuts. I told you this is unprofessional. But you know what? While my news coverage is completely unprofessional in some ways, it's way more professional than anybody. And I'm including everybody I love, from Amy Goodman to Mike Figueredo, Jimmy Dore. They go out of their way to be very professional, and that's great. But the way that I'm more professional is the way I point out things that really make sense, that everybody misses. So here we've got Papantonio's guy. But nobody points out the fact that this went on for, I guarantee you, way longer than 20 years. I mean, it's gone on for thousands of years. I don't know how long Southern Baptists are around, but they're part of a religious crowd that goes back to the cavemen, okay, or beyond. Who knows what mankind is back in whenever. I'm sorry. Just breathed in a little bit of a peanut. So here's my point. Forget about the Southern Baptist Convention. I mean, you're talking about Jimmy Swaggart and, what was his name? The guy who's the head of it. Now his son is the head of it. They're all dickheads. You're trying to tell me these people on this lady on the show, and I love them. Don't get me wrong. I think it's great what they're doing. But you can try and tell me that those people, the heads of the Southern Baptist Church, you're trying to tell me that you really expected them to do anything about it other than to ignore it? Come on, people. I mean, you're smart people, right? Now, my point is, why didn't the American media warn the American people about the fact that all these allegations, because these allegations were popping up everywhere there's Southern Baptist churches, and churches in general. I'll bet you we'll find out. The Methodist Church, the whatever, Pentecostals, all of them. We're going to find out that these allegations, these charges have been brought, probably 1 million of them. Forget about 700. Probably 1 million of them. And why? Why does the media act like one organism, like one person's running it, saying, no, we're not going to warn the American people that their churches? Well, I'll tell you why. Because the churches and the media are the same thing. So the media knows better than to warn the American people about a constant threat that is being perpetrated, a constant sexual abuse being perpetrated upon it, because they don't want to lose church membership. Now imagine if over the last 20 years the media had brought up every time that they heard about somebody in one of these churches. So say I'm right and there's 1 million of them. Say 1 million times they brought it up on local TV stations, where it's happened in national TV shows, the nightly news. And then that million, let's say they ran it for many weeks. So 5 million times on the TV, on the national and local TV, and then on the internet and everything. And say the police refused to do anything about it. Okay? Then you would have that many times that the responsibility of the press would have been to point out to the fact that the police were backing up these criminals, that the church and the police are backing up these criminals. I mean, it would have just, and then well, I mean, you got to see my point there. So it's pretty obvious why they didn't. It's pretty obvious why the police are on their side, why the media is on their side. Probably why the politicians and the lawyers and everybody is on their side. Don't you think? And isn't that an even bigger story? And by the way, I've always suspected and expressed my suspicions that every church, I mean, I'm sure one of these days we'll find out, Islam is younger and less likely probably to have sexual abuse in their ranks, or maybe more likely, I don't know. Maybe it's just a human thing. People purposely getting into power, into situations where they can take advantage of people. That I certainly think is true, and they mentioned that here. But they didn't mention why the media and the police really haven't done anything. And I just got through watching something about Epstein. We're still talking about that. I'm not even sure where I saw it. So that's why I'm a little bit more professional than they are, because I get to some interesting points, and after I bring them up, somebody must be watching me, because I hear other people bringing them up. Maybe they're just figuring it out after the fact. I don't know. But that's my 2 cents. This is Martin Drummond with Progressive Democratic Party Headquarters News. It's February the 14th, 2019.